The well, you don't think too much about it until all of a sudden you don't have any water. That's what happened to Julie and I. One day we had water and all of a sudden we didn't. I thought I could fix this myself. I made an attempt. A lot of things happened that caused me to not be able to fix it. In this video, you'll see what happened and how it was fixed and why I had to call professionals in. Well, I thought this was going to be an easy job replacing this well pump, but as you can see here, I rigged up my own contraption to pull the piping up from down below. It had like a 3 to 2 pulley system, and you know, this would have, I honestly believe this, as hokey as it looks, believe it would have worked. Only catch is as I tried to pull it up, it wouldn't, for some reason it couldn't come up, and since I've never done this before, I wasn't sure if this was normal. And as you'll find out going forward in this video, it wasn't normal. I should have been able to pull that up. I'm probably grateful that I wasn't able to do it, because I would have found I got myself into trouble. So I ended up calling professionals, and here they are. Ralph's what is that? Ralph's well. Ralph's Pump and Well. That's it. Anyway, these guys here were incredible. Talk about, you know, the right equipment for the job. You know, a lot of people say, "Man, that's really expensive. Why are you charging so much?" But look at this equipment that they have. Our well was down in an area where you couldn't bring a normal crane. So these guys had this little cat crane that was able to drive it down and around and get it right into the location where they needed to pull this up. So you know, I give them a lot of credit, and you know, that equipment doesn't come cheap. I am the first person that trying to save money, but man, these guys knew their stuff. They know everything there is about a well. And so if you're up in Washington area, near Seattle, you know, I would definitely give these guys a call. They were top notch. So what you see here is they're getting their boom set up, ready to hook it up to the piping, the PVC piping that's down there. And you can see they pulled that up. That's where I was attached to, and they're trying to pull it up out of the well, and it's not coming up. It's like it's stuck, and you don't want to pull too hard because you don't want to snap it and then have that whole piping that it's attached to drop down to the bottom of the well. So there you can see, you know, what they're trying to pull up. That's what I was trying to pull up, and it just wasn't happening. It was stuck. The pump was down at the very bottom, and it was filled with silt. The jacket that this pump goes into was done the old style method, and they just at the very bottom cut the sides of it with a skilled saw to allow the water seep in. Unfortunately, it allowed dirt and sand to seep in also, and basically encapsulate the pump into the jacket. So they weren't able to, you know, pull it up, pull just the piping up. I also want to point out this little red clamp that they have here. Oh my God, that thing is awesome. I want to get one just because of how cool it was, and you'll see how they use it here later on. But you know, they pull the pipe up, they reclamp it down, it sits on top of the well jacket there, and then they disconnect a piece, and then they pull it back up and it clamps onto it. It's a pretty special tool there that we're looking at. I don't know what the name of it is, but I think it costs like $300 for that little clamping device that they have going on here. So they're scratching their heads right now, figuring out what what's going to happen, and they made an attempt at taking a water pressure and running a hose down all the way down to the bottom and trying to blast the sand out to free up the motor, the pump. And I had to run about 200 feet of hose to my neighbor's house, which was really my only neighbor, and to get water, but it didn't work. Pressure washing it free didn't work. The other thing we discovered was all the fittings that they attached to this pipe was not galvanized or even stainless steel, so they were all rusting out. So there's a, give it another year or two, this would have busted and been even a worse nightmare. So I felt real fortunate that we got it when we did. Oh yeah, and this little guy's called a pitless adapter. This sits down into the housing down there that then goes into your house. So this is what the whole piping system hangs off of, is this pitless adapter. And that's what I had originally screwed into with that galvanized T-pipe in the very first opening shot, and I was trying to pull that up. But even the professionals couldn't get it out, and here it sits in this stage, waiting for the next step. So here what you see now happening is they're pulling it up, and the actual jacket is coming up with it. Now that's not supposed to happen. What's happening is they're pulling up the jacket, and with the hose that runs down to the well pump, and this jacket keeps all the dirt from caving the hole in, and it keeps it allows the water to seep in. But they're pulling it up. They don't have a choice. The motor pump is stuck at the bottom, so they keep pulling this up. They get it up about as high as their crane can pull it up, and then they come and they cut it off. And you'll notice that little red clamping device there. They pull it up, put that clamp on it, clamp it down. They cut it off, and then they re-drill 2 more holes in it, reattach their crane to the next section, and they pull it up. Here they're trying to not get their sawzall bound up, so they're going to relieve a little bit of pressure on it so they can continue cutting it. And there you go. There you can see they've drilled their holes through it, hooked the chain so that they can start pulling up the next section. So the well is 110 feet deep, and you can see the wire that's coming up with it. I was able to save a bunch of that wire, and I've already used it for hooking up my generator. So if you're ever replacing your well, make sure you keep that wire that comes with it, because that's that's about $300, $400 worth of wire that they got going on there. So continue to pull it up, drilling holes through it, cutting each section off, and they continue this. I don't remember how many sections there were, but it's 110 feet long, so they had to do this quite a few times. This little crane here, I can't say enough about it. It was impressive. Yeah, they're pulling the next section up. I'm amazed that the whole well doesn't cave in once they pull this jacket out, but I guess it's compacted so tight that it doesn't do it. Section after section. You can see the piping in the background there that they pulled up. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6. And here's the bottom. So this is the bottom of the well. You can see the slots in it that they cut with a jigsaw, and those just filled up with sand. And the pump is right inside the very bottom of that, and that's, as the water seeps in those slots, it fills up, and then the pump pumps it up to the house. Now watch when this lifts up. There shouldn't be any sand inside the pipe, and that was caked in there tight. That's what was keeping us and me from pulling the PVC piping up out of this jacket. It was just caked in there. You can see that it's kind of slowly starting to slide out. Look at that. That's not supposed to be in there. Now they're trying to get to the pump, which is still stuck in there. Of course, it was raining that day, so everybody's working in the rain. There's the pump, wedged in there tight. I'm not sure why that has to be such a tight tolerance between the pump and the jacket. And there it is. There's the bad pump. That's what all this was all about, right there. Dave, happy to get that up out of the ground. I was happy to get it up out of the ground too.
Yeah, that's sand too. It's not silt.
Look at that. That is coarse sand that was down in there. Here's the new jacket. This is what it looks like at the bottom. All these lines aren't cut with a jigsaw, or I'm sorry, a skill saw. They're actually laser cut. These are laser cut slots that are just microfine holes, and they allow the water to seep in. Not like this. This was what was removed with the skill saw, and you can see the sand just washes right in there, and no wonder the motor got jammed in there. So what they're doing now is they're sending a depth gauge down to double check how deep my well is. So they dropped this metal pipe down in there. They also want to see, and they were listening for when it hits the water table. So you can actually hear it splashing into the water if you listen real carefully. And that's what they were doing here. So I think they finally, guessed, or from the measuring the rope that it was, about 110 feet deep well. And this is them pulling that giant metal thing that you just saw up out of the well. They did this a few times to try and verify how deep the water was. Now, I think at 110 feet deep well, there was only about 12 feet of water down in there. So here they are starting, putting the first section of pipe in, and they're going to put some PVC glue. I don't remember the type of PVC this is. You'll probably see it there. PVC pipe, 4-inch. I don't know what schedule that is. Schedule 40. So they glue it, and then they put some screws in to get a mechanical fastener, just in case the glue gives way for whatever reason. So they put 2 screws in it, and then they send it down, and just like they did pulling it out, they attach section after section. So it's a process. It should have been taken really only half the time, because they should have just been able to pull that It's like a 1-inch, 1.25 PVC, black PVC pipe out of the jacket. But that didn't go as planned. There's that red clamp right there. You know, it would have sucked if they were putting this in and the earth caved in where this jacket needs to go. Oh, that would have been horrible. Then I had to come out with a larger crane and come down and re-drill this well. Definitely a time-consuming job. And before this all happened, I didn't know anything about a well. Didn't know how, how it was constructed. Didn't know anything about a jacket. Oh, that was the last piece that they were putting in. So that goes down and it sits basically at the bottom. So that'll go down until it hits bottom. And it's going down there quite a ways. That might have been, I don't remember if they pulled that back up and put another section on or not. They might have. So now they're getting the pump ready. So they're hooking up,
heat shrink have the resin in it?
soldering. First they soldered the connections, and now they're putting this heat shrink on it. And this heat shrink has a has like an epoxy sealant inside there to keep that connection waterproof, so that it doesn't get corroded. Like I said, they did solder it, so it's a nice solid connection. And they do this for all the wires.
Those old ones that we.
It's a 220 pump.
Yeah. Right. Nobody's used those in years, but probably that's what they can
I
find.
found that out when I lost power and we didn't have any water, and I hooked up a generator and was wondering why my pump wasn't working. It's because I was
So
only
how
using
do you
110,
think that? How long it's been?
and that didn't do it.
Oh, I can
Yeah.
So he's fixing these,
do it on the motor.
melting this heat shrink on here. And there's the new pump. It's like what does it say? Flint and Walling, model 4F10S0. You'll have to pause it to see what it says. Nice, clean connectors.
It's on
And then here's the new, instead of the black continuous piece of PVC that the motors, the pump, I keep saying motor, the pump is attached to. They're using this PVC piping, which isn't your PVC that you buy in the Home Depot, by the way. This is, once again, I don't recall what the wall thickness is of it, but it's a heavy duty PVC. So they're connecting the pump up to it. Use Teflon tape, help keep it from leaking. This is the section that you don't want to leak, because this is what this pumps up is the water that goes into your house. And you also want to keep that line full, so you don't want it seeping out over a period of time. The other thing that they did here was wrap the electrical up to it. I was afraid to pull on the electrical on the old pump because I didn't want to snap it off, or I was worried about, if it was connected anywhere, and rightly so. It had a few connections that were just electrical taped together. It wasn't done very well. But these guys, are definitely doing it right, and they're taping that wire on there to keep it all snug and to keep everything together. For some reason, I would feel confident on this. If for some reason you lost your grip on pulling this inch and a quarter, or whatever size PVC this is, if long you grabbed a hold of that wire, it would come up with it. There's the spool. It's a flat wire that they're using for this. This is definitely one of those jobs where Murphy's Law, if it can go wrong, it will. And this job definitely did. I think they originally quoted me like $3,200, but they were really reluctant on giving me a price up front. They gave me a ballpark. They said, they really said it could be anywhere from, $1,500 to $10,000. And this is a prime example of you just don't really know until the job's done on what you're going to come up against. Because what would happen if they would have gone out here and to try to pull this up and something would have snapped and the whole rig would have fallen down to the bottom of the well? I don't really know. I'm glad I didn't have to find out. This is another interesting little bracket here that they were using. It's just a quick, connect of that pipe and lift it up and drop it down. I mean, they got all the toys to make this job go as smoothly as possible. Love that shot there. This is another cool little threader here, little portable threader, PVC threader. Got that clamp that clamps onto the pipe to keep the at the right angle, and just hook it up, and it just cuts the threads so nicely. That is just sweet. I want one of those. I don't think I would ever need it for anything, but I want one. Watch when this thing comes off on how clean these threads are. I guess I could have edited that a little bit shorter. Like right from the factory. Notice how he just started the connector there, and then Teflon taped it to make sure that it didn't cross thread. And that's the pitless adapter, the one we saw earlier that was all rusted and ready to break free. And he's screwing in now the T handle that you use to set it into the other end of the pitless adapter, because it's just setting about four feet beneath that well. So they wired it up, we've turned the breaker on, and I have running water again. So that was a very happy moment. Yep, Ralph's Pump and Well. That is a really good company. So make sure you look them up if you're in the Seattle area. Thanks for watching.